Welcome back, everybody. Today's deep dive is all about winning those inner battles, using Aarius Foroux's audiobook, Win Your Inner Battles, as our guide.
It's a really fascinating blend of personal stories and practical advice rooted in psychology and even stoicism.
Exactly. What I found really interesting was how Darius opens up about his own struggles.
Right. Like how he quit a secure job even though he'd been successful as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it was like he felt like a failure on the inside, even with all this outward success.
Really makes you think, huh, like we all deal with self-doubt no matter what we achieve on the outside.
It's so true. And he really dives into this whole idea of inner battles with a really interesting analogy.
Oh yeah, the one about turbulence on a plane versus not speaking up in a meeting.
That's the one. It's like both trigger fear responses, but only one is a real threat, right?
Yeah, it's a brilliant way to show how fear, it's essential for survival and all, can actually stop us from reaching our full potential.
Totally. Like that fear of speaking up, it's often just our own anxieties holding us back.
And it's so easy to fall into that trap, especially with all the pressure to conform these days.
Right. It's like everyone's telling us who we should be and what we should be doing.
The book has some great examples of this, like the fear of public speaking or ending a relationship.
I think we've all been there at some point. It's like those universal fears that can really hold us back.
Definitely. And this is where Darius's emphasis on taking responsibility comes in.
Oh, yeah, I remember that line. It's like where you are in life is not because of the economy or education or where you live. It's because of your choices and likely because you give in to fear. Powerful stuff.
It's a bit of a wake-up call, isn't it?
It is, but it's also empowering. It's about recognizing that we have more control over our lives than we often think.
Instead of blaming external factors, Darius wants us to own our choices and confront those fears.
It's about taking action instead of staying stuck.
He even brings in this framework from Stoic philosophy for handling difficult situations.
Oh, tell me about that.
It's pretty straightforward, actually. It's about choosing to either change the situation, leave it, or accept it without complaining.
I like that. It's about being proactive instead of getting caught up in negativity.
And it ties in perfectly with his next point, which is all about facing our fears head on.
You mean what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Exercise.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about dwelling on the negative, though. It's about visualizing the worst-case scenario so we can actually prepare for it.
I can see how that would help reduce anxiety.
It's like, if you could accept the worst possible outcome, then everything else seems a little less scary, right?
Totally. It's like taking away the power of the unknown.
He uses the example of Chris, a care assistant who's terrified of losing his job.
It's a really relatable example because so many people worry about job security.
And by going through this exercise, Chris is able to realize that even if he does lose his job, it's not the end of the world.
He can find another job, he has skills, he has a support system.
Exactly. It's about focusing on what we can control, like our actions and our mindset.
It's that stoic principle again, right? Focusing on what's within our power.
And that leads us to one of my favorite concepts in the book, confidence by competence.
I was hoping we'd get to that.
It's basically the idea that true confidence comes from developing our skills and abilities.
It's not about faking it till you make it. It's about putting in the work.
Exactly. Darius breaks it down into this cycle.
Tell me in.
Okay, so it starts with improving your skills, then putting them into practice, seeing tangible results, which then boosts your confidence, and then you repeat the cycle.
Makes total sense. The more you master something, the less afraid you are to fail.
Because you know you have the skills to back you up.
And it's a continuous process, right? You're always learning, always growing, always building your confidence.
Absolutely. It's not like you reach a certain level of competence and then you're set for life.
It's a journey, not a destination.
I love that. You said it perfectly.
And I think this whole idea of confidence by competence really ties in with my own experience starting this podcast.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, I never thought I could do something like this, you know?
I bet a lot of people feel that way.
But once I started learning about audio editing and podcasting, it's like a switch flipped.
You started feeling more confident.
Exactly. And that confidence gave me the courage to actually launch the show.
It's amazing how conquering one fear can empower you to take on other challenges.
It's like a snowball effect. And it all comes back to building that foundation of competence.
Couldn't agree more. That's where true confidence comes from.
So, for anyone listening who's feeling stuck or afraid to pursue their dreams,
remember that confidence is built, not born.
start by focusing on developing your skills.
And remember, you don't have to do it all at once.
Take small steps, Celebrate your progress, and before you know it, you'll be amazed at what you've accomplished.
And who knows, maybe you'll even inspire others to do the same.
Now that would be a real win.
And you know what this whole confidence thing makes me think of?
What's that?
Purpose. Finding your purpose.
Yeah. Like, how does confidence play into that?
Well, when you're confident in your abilities, you're more likely to take risks.
Right, let's see that.
And taking risks is often essential for discovering and pursuing what truly matters to you.
That's a great point. It's like confidence gives you that freedom to explore.
Exactly. And speaking of purpose, Aarius actually cites a Johns Hopkins study in the book.
Oh, what was that about?
So they asked students what was most important to them in life,
Okay, yeah.
And guess what? A whopping 78% of them said finding purpose and meaning was their top priority.
Wow, that's a huge majority.
It really highlights how fundamental this need for purpose is, Like we all crave it.
Makes me think of Viktor Frankl's work, actually.
Oh yeah, he's the one who said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow."
Exactly. Even in the most horrific circumstances, having a sense of purpose can give you the strength to keep going.
And Aarius makes a really interesting point about this.
What's that?
He says that finding purpose isn't about discovering some grand universal meaning.
Oh, I see. So it's not like everyone's searching for the same thing.
Right. It's more about defining what your life is about.
Like what values drive you.
Exactly. What impact you want to make on the world. It's deeply personal.
I love that. It takes the pressure off, Like you don't have to solve the mysteries of the universe.
Right. It's about finding what lights you up.
So how do we actually go about finding that purpose then?
Well, the audiobook is packed with practical strategies, and since our listeners are all about action.
Let's jump into some of those quick wins.
Okay, great. One that's super important in today's world is learning to say no more often.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I know, right? But it's about eliminating distractions and making space for what truly matters.
It's about protecting your time and energy.
So you can focus on those things that align with your values and goals.
And then there's the 5S method for goal setting, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Specific, big, deadline, sacrifice, write down.
It's simple, but it really helps you turn those vague ideas into concrete actions.
That sacrifice part is key, though.
Why is that?
Because it forces you to acknowledge that achieving anything worthwhile requires effort.
You got to put in the work.
Exactly. There's no magic bullet. It's about commitment and consistency.
Speaking of consistency, Aarius also talks about focusing on daily progress.
Instead of waiting for those big eureka moments,
It's the small steps done consistently that lead to long-term growth.
it's like building a muscle, You don't get ripped overnight. It takes time and effort.
And it applies to everything, right? Our skills, our mindset, our resilience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about those small daily actions that compound over time
And for those really big challenges, he suggests breaking them down into smaller steps.
so you don't get overwhelmed.
It's like that saying, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Exactly. And it makes those daunting tasks seem much more manageable.
And speaking of managing challenges, Aarius also talks about developing mental toughness.
Okay, what does that involve?
It's about embracing confrontation, developing a thicker skin, and learning to handle criticism.
Because let's face it, not everyone's going to be supportive of your journey.
And that's okay. You don't need everyone's approval.
It's about staying true to yourself and your vision.
He even tells a story about a time when he stayed silent when a coworker was being dishonest.
Ooh, that's got to be tough.
It was. And he realized that his silence actually ended up hurting others.
So sometimes speaking up, even when it's uncomfortable, is the right thing to do.
It's about aligning your actions with your values, even when it's hard.
I like that. It's about having the courage to stand up for what you believe in.
And when it comes to criticism, Aarius reminds us that most of it isn't personal.
Okay, what do you mean?
Like, people often project their own insecurities or frustrations onto others.
So it's not really about you, it's about them.
Exactly. It's about detaching from that feeling of being personally attacked.
Which can be so easy to do, especially online.
Oh yeah, social media can be a breeding ground for negativity.
But Aarius actually encourages us to put ourselves out there, even in those spaces where feedback can be harsh.
It's like exposure therapy for fear of judgment.
Right. The more you put yourself out there, the less power those negative comments have over you.
And platforms like Medium, Reddit, or YouTube can be great for this.
You can share your work, get feedback, and connect with others.
It's a fantastic way to hone your craft and build resilience.
But even with all these strategies, Aarius acknowledges that fear never truly goes away.
He uses the example of professional actors who still get stage fright, even after years of experience.
It's a reminder that we're all human, even those who seem super confident.
And the key isn't eliminating fear, It's learning to manage it so it doesn't control us.
So how do we do that? How do we manage that fear?
One powerful way, according to Darius, is to find a mentor.
Oh, someone who can guide you and offer support.
Exactly. He talks about how he actively sought out mentors in his field.
It wasn't just luck. It was intentional effort.
And he offers some great advice for finding mentors.
I'm all ears.
It's not about begging for favors. It's about demonstrating competence in your area of interest.
So you need to show that you're serious and committed.
Exactly. And you can offer value to the potential mentor, even in small ways.
It's about building a genuine relationship based on mutual respect.
And mentorship doesn't always have to be this formal thing, you know?
What do you mean?
Like, you can find guidance from books, online courses, even videos.
It's about being resourceful and proactive.
Absolutely. And speaking of resources, Darius is a huge advocate for reading.
Oh, he mentions that in the book, right? Like he aims to read 100 books a year.
Yeah, it sounds intense, but he breaks it down into manageable steps.
How does he do that?
Well, he suggests buying books in bulk, so you always have something to read.
That's smart.
And making reading a daily habit, even if it's just for a few minutes.
It's about making it a priority, like any other important activity.
He even has a motto, always be reading.
I love that. It's like a constant reminder to keep learning and growing.
And he talks about squeezing in reading time during commutes, lunch breaks, even while waiting for appointments.
It's about reclaiming those little pockets of time that we often waste.
And it's not just about passively consuming information either.
What do you mean?
Darius emphasizes reading actively, like taking notes, highlighting passages, summarizing insights.
So you're really engaging with the material.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what leads to real learning and understanding.
And of course, it's not just about acquiring knowledge, it's about applying it.
Absolutely. Knowledge is only powerful when it's put into action.
And that's where the real growth happens, when we take what we've learned and use it to improve our lives.
But, you know, even with all this talk about achieving goals and winning battles.
Darius also reminds us to slow down and savor the simple pleasures.
Yes. He talks about the importance of practicing presence.
Like being fully present in the moment.
Exactly. Appreciating those times when time seems to stand still because we're so engrossed in an activity.
It's a reminder that life isn't just about the destination. It's about enjoying the journey.
And it's about letting go of that fast train mentality.
That constant striving for what's next.
And instead, embracing the long, winding road that is life.
It's a message of patience and acceptance, you know?
Recognizing that true fulfillment comes from embracing the present moment.
And not constantly comparing ourselves to others.
Oh, that's a big one.
He reminds us that social status, job titles, material possessions, it's all fleeting.
It doesn't define our worth.
And it's so easy to get caught up in that comparison game, especially in today's culture.
It's like everyone's trying to keep up with the Joneses.
But Darius encourages us to focus on our own unique journey.
Our own values, our own definition of success.
It's a powerful message, and it really resonated with me.
Me too. It's a reminder to stay true to ourselves and not get swept up in external expectations.
So much of what Darius talks about in When Your Inner Battles is so deeply insightful.
It really makes you think about life in a different way.
And there's one question he asks at the end that has really stuck with me.
I'm curious, what is it?
He asks, "What are you?"
That's a deep one.
And he's not talking about your job title or your social media profile.
It's about the essence of who you are.
Exactly. Like what truly defines your life? What are your core values, your motivations?
It's a question that cuts through all the noise and forces you to confront your true self.
And it's a question that really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what are we beyond those labels?
It does. And I love how Darius suggests that we need more input to really get to that output of a clearly defined purpose.
So it's like we need to actively seek out new experiences, new ideas, new perspectives to really understand who we are at our core.
Exactly. And I think that's something we can all do, regardless of where we are in life.
It's about being curious, you know, being open to new possibilities and challenging our own assumptions.
Absolutely. And it's about managing those things that can block us from connecting with our true selves, like stress and anxiety.
Oh, that's so important. It's like when you're stressed out, it's hard to even think straight, let alone figure out your life's purpose.
Exactly. But Darius reminds us that our purpose is within us. Sometimes it just needs a little space to emerge.
I love that. So to bring it all back to Win Your Inner Battles, the core message seems to be that we all have fears, but they don't have to control us.
That's it in a nutshell. By building competence, finding purpose and taking responsibility for our choices, we can overcome those challenges and create a life that feels truly fulfilling.
It's about shifting our mindset, from one of fear and limitation to one of growth and possibility.
And Darius's story, along with all the wisdom he shares from philosophers and psychologists, gives us a practical roadmap for navigating those inner battles we all face.
Absolutely. We highly recommend checking out his work for even more insights, especially those blog posts you mentioned.
They're a goldmine of practical advice.
But before we wrap up, we wanted to leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
So if you could eliminate just one fear that's holding you back, what would it be?
That's a good one.
And what's the smallest step you can take today to start facing it?
It's about taking action, even if it's just a tiny step in the right direction.
Because even small actions can lead to big changes over time.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
There are resources, mentors, and communities out there to support you.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep winning those inner battles.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.